I totally revealed my mask. I totally revealed my mask also for myself. Wow. Because I had never realized that before.
What's good, everyone? This is MaskOFF in the series with your host, Patrick Dennis. And today we have a special guest. Your name is?
My name is Kevin Booker. I'm the Vice President for Student Services and the Dean of the College at Morehouse College.
Yes, sir. And one way that MaskOFF looks at mental health awareness and just psychological healing is looking at challenges as a catapult for change and reaching a higher version of yourself. If you look at a challenge as a lesson for you to gain a deeper experience and an understanding of yourself, that is what it is at the end of the day. When you look at it and perceive it in a certain light, that's what it becomes. If you look at a challenge as an obstacle that's meant to defeat you, it will defeat you. Mm-hmm. But if you look at an obstacle as a way to deepen yourself and fine-tune your skills, your tools will be sharpened and you'll be able to carry that throughout your experience in the world. So at the end of the day, let's use the experiences and the traumatic experiences we have in life as a way to catapult our change and the destiny and the road to reaching a higher version of ourselves. That's what we're doing today, and that's what we're doing every day with MaskOFF. Tune in. Let's go. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What's the challenge you
so a little bit about myself. Kevin Booker. Grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, northern New Jersey. I went to high school in Newark, New Jersey, and that's a challenge within itself. East Orange, a very densely populated city, urban city right outside of New York City, approximately 20 plus miles away, and Newark, a neighboring city. So I lived in East Orange, grew up in East Orange, and went to high school in Newark. I went to a prominent high school, world-renowned high school, I'll say, St. Benedict's Prep, produced a lot of talented young men that have gone out to help shape and define the world, just as I attended and now work at Morehouse College, another place that helps men develop and change the world. So I've been blessed to go to two great schools, but growing up, living in East Orange and being well respected in my community in East Orange was great, but my challenge was going to high school in Newark. Newark's a rival city, urban environment during the early 80s, mid 80s, rough place to be. So by the time I reached 16 years old, I had been robbed at least once by gunpoint. I had guns on me more than 2 to 3 times. At that stage of my life, and had encountered quite a bit of fights, just based on how I looked as a light-skinned African-American male, which presents challenges. A lot of brothers wanted to try me, and it created, I guess you would say, coping skills and mechanisms to survive, which I still use today. And it's funny, people meet me and I love life, but I don't smile very much. And a large reason why I don't smile is because of where I grew up, which is sad, but it's true. Because if you were smiling a lot at the time I was growing up, you were likely to be a candidate for a robbery. And that's just the beginning, right? So the trial and error of growing up in an urban environment where you can't even be yourself. And so overcoming that, and we fast forward, I know you got some questions for me, but that was the start of my life, growing up in New Jersey, and there's good and bad there, but a lot of those things help build me and help me to do the work that I do today.
Word. And I appreciate you bringing that story today to the show and the series. If you could give one specific benefit and one tool that you became aware of in your tool, because I believe everybody has a God-given toolbox to carry out this journey in this world. It's just how willing are you to work and overcome your challenges to be aware of that toolbox. So what are one of the tools that you realized was in your toolbox that came from being in that environment and getting out of it? What's a tool?
Well, I would say a few, but let's talk about one. One, knowing that I could get out of the environment and that education would be what would empower me to. Athletics was another thing that I was big on, but when I reached a certain age level, I wasn't as committed as a student athlete as I would have needed to be successful in college. I did receive a couple of athletic scholarships, but I knew that wasn't my future. But I knew that it would be what I learned in school and furthering myself in school that would be my outlet out. So, one story I'll tell quickly. I was riding the public transportation to high school, and in the north, many of us have to catch public transportation, either trains or buses back and forth. And two brothers got on the bus. One got on the front of the bus and one got on the back of the bus. And as soon as they got on, they pulled out their pistols and said, "Y'all know what time it is," and robbed the whole bus. I was 13 years old, a freshman in high school, and it was then that it clicked in my mind, this is not the environment I want to be in. So fast forward 4 years later, I knew I was leaving to have a different experience for college. I didn't want to stay where I grew up. Not that I hated it, but it was just an environment that I had constantly had to look over my back. And I didn't want that to be my experience in college. So for me, instinctively, I would say my street smarts was one of the things that I pulled out of my toolbox. Many of us might call it spidey sense or whatever. You sense when something's about to go wrong.
So your intuition.
So how do you use your intuition and instincts to prevent negativity from happening in your life? And then also being skilled with my tongue. I think sometimes we can avoid a lot of drama by what we say and how we interact with one another. So those are two ways that I would say through my personal experiences with trauma, I've learned to grow and put those tools in my toolbox.
Word. Mm-hmm. Okay. And now that we got a little bit of a background to your story, I got a couple of questions for you and just a couple of topics that I feel like relate, to the theme of this episode.
All right.
It is the first question I really have for you and that I really wanted to know was, as a black man growing up in America, how does one find their identity? Like how, and just going within your experience so you can help others and brothers in the audience or even just people in the audience.
Right.
How do you find your identity as a black man in America, and what does that role look like?
Yeah, so I want to say once again, it's education, right? But it's not necessarily in the classroom. We got to open up books. We have to read. And iron sharpens iron. It's a term we use all the time at Morehouse, which I know you know. But it's the truth. As we sit in this shop, it's a cultural experience in here. It's not just a barbershop. This is an experience. You're learning that we have a history, right? Knowledge of self. And when you hear about the early, or you listen to the early rappers in the 80s, that's what they were talking about. Rakim, KRS-One. Yep. It was about knowledge of self and building. We come from kings and queens and understanding that and appreciating that. I think as black men in particular, but black people as a whole, we've allowed slavery, mental slavery, and all those things that resulted from that to create something that is not naturally us. 100%. And we have to redeem ourselves, and this is an ongoing process. And the best way to do that is by learning your history, right? Your story, your people's story, where your people came from, who they were in America, and not just America, but Africa in itself. We all are from the motherland and the Nile Valley region and all that richness of history. We built this country on the backs of free land and free labor, and understanding that we're not just laborers, but we are the ones that created math, language, all of those things, as we talk about Imhotep and others from our history. And what I want to do as an educator, and what I've been doing as an educator for over 25 years, is helping brothers understand what knowledge of self is, and the importance of opening up books and reading stuff like Stolen Legacy. Things that they're not going to teach you in a public school classroom. Things that they will teach you at a HBCU. Miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson. We've got rich history in this country and rich history outside of this country, all over the world. African people have developed what we now call culture. If you look at Spain, the Moors left Africa as explorers, Muslim Moors going to Spain, and they civilized it, created drainage systems, things of that nature. And we're talking about before Europe even developed its history as they know it today. But we don't learn that. We don't learn that. And I think as brothers gain that knowledge, they'll have a better appreciation of who they can be.
Exactly.
So I think the books are where we start, and putting ourselves around older brothers, mentors,
having
like
conversations
conversations like these, and positive conversations that talk about how we develop and shape our communities, how we love our women, how we develop our children, how we be responsible caretakers of what God has given us. And I think that's where we start our work, right?
100%. And you also, brought up a very good topic that, a very good transition to, because we're about to get into this conversation too, how knowledge of self is love. How are you able to love yourself if you don't know yourself? You know what I'm saying? You can't love anything you don't know about.
Correct.
Unless you just have faith, pure faith off of love of something you can't see. But knowledge of self is love.
Correct.
And once we have pure knowledge of where we came from, we can understand where we're going. And that leads us into, the conversation of generational healing. Because a lot of brothers, talk about generational wealth. Was it important? It's important for, brothers and sisters to, gain economic and socio-economic status. It's important. But before we get there, or even after you get there, if you have no fulfillment through knowledge of self and love, how are you able to use that money effectively to evolve and grow as a community?
Excellent point.
You can't. It's like you're growing the tree, but the root is bad. You know what I'm saying? You got all the tree, you got all the fruit from the tree, but the fruit is spoiling. You know what I'm saying? So my question is, how do we start generational healing, and how do we start opening more conversations about that? Because a lot of what I see from brothers and sisters I talk to is that, we talked about how knowledge of self is love, but some people, when they learn about themselves, they reject it because they don't have that love from the trauma they had. Like if someone tells you to love your black skin, but you was told over and over, even by your own people, black nasty, black this, you know what I'm saying? How can you accept black as beautiful if you were told it's something to hate?
Correct. So you ask a great question, and my response is this: communication. Right. So what we're doing right now and right here is real. This is authentic, and authentic communication needs to happen between those that have trauma and those that have overcome trauma. Right. To understand that you are not alone. We've all had it. We all are experiencing it. Trauma doesn't end. Trauma is a part of life. Exactly. I jokingly say this to my children and your brothers all the time. Life is a haze. We all have been hazed in life, and trauma is a part of that hazing, right? But what is it that we can learn from the trauma that can cause us to grow to become who we are? I don't think it ever leaves us, right? As I shared with you all today, I've created surviving and coping mechanisms that I use in my everyday life, right, to help me get through and be the better person that I want to be. And that's what it's about, using the positive things that come out of the trauma to help others, right? So 23 years old, I'm a graduate of Morehouse College. I go to a bachelor party of another Morehouse brother. We go to a club, shady club, probably didn't need to be in there. Went in anyway. We get into an argument in the club. Fight spills out. We spill out into the community with the fight. I get shot. Brother that shoots me, 17 years old.
Crazy.
Right?
Younger than you.
Traumatic experience in my life. I'm shot. I got shot in the leg, fortunately. Bullet was a .45. Fractured my tibia and fibula. I learned that I'm going to, basically lose a year of my life. Right? So I have to recover. 5 surgeries, screws, the whole nine. Anything you can name with restructuring the leg, I experience it. But during that period of time, instead of being angry, I looked at this situation and I looked at my spirituality within, right? I'm not a overtly Christian Sunday church going brother, but I do believe in God, and I believe that there's a power bigger than me.
Yes, sir.
So I prayed up, I said, God, I'm in this situation. I've been running from you in my spirit, but I'm here now. What is it that you want of me? I asked God that.
Word.
I asked God to point me in my right direction. I asked God to give me the things that I truly need so I could be successful in my life. Because at that point in my life, I was lost.
Word.
Right? So I think spirituality is a key. And it's however you want to look at it, there's a force greater than us. Right? And I realized and accepted that, and I gave myself to my God.
Yes, sir.
And it was through that experience that I was able to experience forgiveness. Forgiveness of myself.
Talk to me.
Forgiveness of what others had done to me, i.e. the shooter.
Talk to me.
Forgiveness of my friends who have, did things to me that I may not have done to them. All of those things, God gave me that ability, right? And he also helped me find my talent. I think a lot of times in life we get caught up in what other people want us to be, right? And not what we ourselves want for us. And not being able to see our talents because we're so caught up on what people want for us. So for me, it was me humbling myself to say, God, and accept what God had to show me as my talent, and then being able to embrace it. I think a lot of times God shows us our talents, right? But we don't foresee what we desire our talents to be. We just see what we want to see for ourselves. So in my case, I was able to be clear in mind and see God gave me the ability to work with kids. I was good at working with kids. But now am I ready to receive that? And how do I use that working with kids to be my future and my career? So I started as a substitute teacher. I said, hey, if I'm going to explore it, let me do it. I substitute taught in Newark and East Orange at the same time. Crazy. And when I did choose a school district to work in, which was East Orange, I still substituted in Newark on my days off because I now realize my talent. I realize how great I am in my talent, but I want to perfect my talent so well that I'm the best at it for me.
For you,
right?
The best
so
version
that
of yourself.
So that I can help as many young people as I can. And then the story gets greater. I mean, I go back, get my master's degree, and 3 years later, after becoming teacher of the year, state teacher of the year,
Respect.
all those beautiful honors, which I'm humbled by, I become an assistant principal.
Okay.
So now, I from being shot, laid on the ground, asking God to help me figure out where I'm supposed to go and be in my life, to now being able to change the lives of students as a teacher, and now as an assistant principal. Then eventually becoming a principal, then going on to come back to Atlanta, work at Morehouse. I worked in Morehouse, and when I first came back to Atlanta, I was a principal in Clayton County. Just lost the accreditation. Probably the most unique experience I had in my public school life, because now I had a diverse group of students I was working with. Wasn't all black anymore, but now I got kids that are in poverty, that are Asian, white, multicultural, but still giving them that Afrocentric feel. That's me. I'm a Kwanzaa person, so I'm teaching kids in Nguzo Saba. That's white. But this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
This is crazy. So I'm coming in Nguzo Saba, going through the 7 principles, and I was teaching this. I had black teachers for the first time asking me, why am I teaching white kids black stuff? That's how screwed up we are.
It's crazy.
These are teachers.
It's crazy.
And they asking a black principal, and they're black teachers, why we teaching white kids black stuff.
Wow. And they said black stuff.
Black stuff.
It's not even black stuff. It's centered around African traditions.
And these are principles, man. And if you don't mind, I'd like to share that in Nguzo Saba. Can we do that real quick?
Yeah.
All right. In Nguzo Saba. I want you to repeat after me. In Nguzo Saba.
In Nguzo Saba.
Umoja.
Umoja, that's
unity.
That's unity, yeah.
Kuji Jakalir.
Self-determination.
All right, you already know.
Yeah.
Self-determination. Ujima, I want you to repeat after me. I know you know. Ujima. Just say collective work and responsibility. Ujima.
I forgot.
Ujima.
That's cooperative economics.
Cooperative economics.
Ujima.
Very good. Nia.
Nia. Purpose.
Imani.
Faith.
Imani, faith. In Nguzo Saba.
Yes, sir.
7 principles. So those are the 7 principles I use to teach and run schools. So I brought that to a diverse, multicultural school, right? And was able to teach kids that. So I bring that down to Clayton County, and I'm working with us and other kids that are in poverty. And I got black teachers asking me, why am I teaching kids that ain't black stuff?
That's crazy. Yeah. Because you hit on a lot of things that, you know, I was gonna get into. The one thing you got into was, well, I call it a trauma threshold or a darkness threshold, where you get to a low moment in your life where you get so low you're just looking and searching for the light. You know, a lot of people are lost between, you know, the trauma threshold and darkness, to where they stay in darkness and they think darkness is their friend. So they stay there until darkness shows, I'm not your friend, I'm just using you. So you hit your trauma threshold and you realize, yo, I need the light. You give yourself up to God's will, and you were able, you know, to have God's grace and have even a broader, more expanded vision of the tools that God put in your toolbox. Cool. You're like, oh, forgiveness, oh, compassion, oh, empathy, oh, self-discipline. I got all this within me. You realize this, searching through those and honing those gifts and sharpening your tools, you were able to use your light and find your gift. Once you found your gift, you were able to use your gift and cultivate environments where you show love. You were able to show love even in places where they weren't able to show love to you.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Correct. And that's the power of having God's light flow through you. And I'm really glad and appreciative that you were able to show that story and tell that story here. And another point you talked about that I wanted to go on is vulnerable communication. Because you said authentic conversations is a way to heal. And I believe that vulnerable communication allows you to look at your story in front of you and take accountability for what happened. Once you're able to take accountability for what happened, you're able to forgive yourself and others. And once you do that, you release a lot of that black, you know, not black, anger, but that dark trauma you have.
The anger.
Yeah, that trauma.
Yeah, we, as black men especially, and you did a great job of summarizing all of that, Pat. And I think, and I look at my brothers, I'm guilty of this. I have hypertension and high blood pressure, right? And I do communicate. But there are a lot of brothers that don't. They keep all this stuff bottled up
because we
as
taught
black men, right?
We taught to be tough.
We're taught all
taking
of
on the
things.
chin,
Don't cry,
don't be a sissy.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And these things affect us physically.
And spiritually.
Right? And spiritually.
It starts spiritually and then affects us physically.
Absolutely. So it is healthy. It is healthy to talk about what you're struggling with. 100%. It is healthy to get help. It is healthy to have someone to speak to and talk to. It is healthy to have a mentor. It's healthy to be vulnerable.
Yes, sir.
It's healthy to cry.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? All of these things are human.
You need to.
We are human beings. Yeah. We are here and destined to live great lives. But if we're angry and we're holding all of these things oppressively inside of us, we are not helping ourselves, our communities, and others that are suffering with the same trauma as ourselves.
Exactly.
So it's only when we free ourselves that we can free others in the community. I always wanted to be a wealthy man, right? I wanted to be a wealthy man, real estate development. I was a finance major in college. Stocks, I didn't know what it would be. But I realized that my material would no way fulfill me in my life. Yeah. Right? Material will not fulfill me. What fulfills me in life are moments like I'm having now. Where I'm talking with a younger brother that's going to go change the world, right? Don't know what you're going to do, but I know what you're doing is going to make an impact on others. And that makes me wealthy, right? Pouring into a brother that I know has the opportunity to do some things that maybe I didn't get a chance to do, but do them at a higher level because I gave him maybe some tools, right, that he could load in his toolbox to make him a better person.
100%. So
that's me all day.
Yes,
I'm trying to, and I'm living as a result of me following what I believe was God's path for me. It has made me wealthier beyond my wildest dreams. Now I made good money. I'm making good money doing it. But the wealth is not in the material. The wealth is in the lives that I'm able to effectively touch and change. You know what I'm saying? To get a brother to stay in school, to get a brother to go to school,
fulfillment,
or to influence a brother who is thinking about dropping out to stay and finish, or a brother that may be majoring in biology and hates biology, but realizing his talent is somewhere else. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
All right.
It's crazy because, you know, it's a reflection of my journey. Yeah. But I was going to say something. You said something about school box. Oh, yeah, generational healing. Yeah. That's what I was going to get into. This is what generational healing is about. General wealth is good externally in the material world. I call it the matrix. In the external world that you live in,
word for it.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. When you live in the external world, yes, you need money to get in certain doors. But that willpower, that soul, that fulfillment within, that gets you up in the morning, that makes you smile, that makes your light shine, comes from fulfillment. That comes from within. And the fact that he could pass tools on to me, and we can have conversations like these to make sure that we walk out this space feeling lighter, is what generational healing is right now. He comes from a different generation. I'm in a different generation, but he's using the challenges and experiences he went through to make sure I don't have the same pains and the same traumas. And that's what really matters, because us being fulfilled from within allows us to attract fulfillment in material objects. If you are searching for material objects but don't have fulfillment within, it won't serve your purpose. You being fulfilled is going to attract that energy regardless. You know what I'm saying? That's what really is about, and that's what I'm about to get into with trauma too. Back to overcoming trauma, and this theory I have that I'm working on, you know, because I want to do a TED Talk. I'm a manifestor. I will do a TED Talk soon and give a speech about like this is the choice of love over fear. So when you experience trauma, and we both can attest to this, when you experience trauma, right, and you hold on to it, you don't forgive someone, right, you have this kind of like a mini black hole within you, like kind of covering your soul's light, right?
Correct.
And this black hole that came from your trauma, when you don't heal from it, it attracts other black holes, other experiences that have black holes. Basically what I'm saying is, when you have fear within yourself, I attach fear to the black hole. When you have fear within yourself, you're going to attract fearful situations, because the universe is trying to make you learn how to not be fearful. If you got some bad feelings inside you, you're going to attract a bad low-level situation, so that you can learn that from this low-level situation, let me realize how to get up again. You know what I'm saying? The universe wants to make sure you leave Earth without fear. You know what I'm saying? Because if you have fear within yourself, you're going to be overprotected. It can lead to violence, greed, lust, everything.
And so everything's a history lesson for me, right? And I think the knowledge that you just dropped was very deep, especially for a young person to share what you shared. But as I look around in space, this barbershop, and I see brothers that have lost their lives in the struggle. Let's take Malcolm, for example. I think Malcolm, he died with no fear, right?
He wasn't scared. That's a beautiful way to pass away.
He wasn't afraid, right? Yeah. He wasn't afraid. I mean, he knew his days were numbered. King, he knew his days were numbered, but it didn't stop them from their work, their purpose, right? And that's the type of fervent approach that I've looked at my life. You know, for me, I've had a lot of people tell me what I can do. Right? Graduated from Morehouse with a 2.4. Not proud of that, but it's the truth. The last person likely to be vice president of a college that I barely graduated from. Took me 5 to get out. But I'm the vice president of this school. You know what I'm saying? And I don't say that in an egotistical way.
I understand
because it doesn't matter. Title don't matter.
But they may not. But I understand what you're saying.
But if I allowed everybody to tell me what I couldn't do, then I would not be. You understand what I mean? I truly believe that God has given us all that we need inside ourselves, and what we don't have, He will put in front of our lives, right? So you have it all within you. It's just a matter of you figuring out what it is, and for me, it is what it is He wanted for me, right? Wasn't about me, because I had to humble myself. Because for me, I wanted to be a real estate developer, rich. You know, but that's not what God intended for me. God intended for me to touch people, to work with people, to help develop people. I had to be willing to receive that, because that was not my plan for myself, right? And then open myself up to what His plan was for me, and then to take advantage of all that He put in my way. And it was like, I want to tell you, it was a perfect story once I figured it out. this is my skill, but it wasn't. Because along the way, God is going to test you, right?
100%.
I took the teacher's exam 3 times before I passed.
But you kept going.
Right. But I was ready to quit. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
You know, because we as men, if we don't succeed the first time, we like,
that ego gets
hurt. You know.
Yeah.
Right? So understand that along your journey, there are going to be struggles. But if you believe and you think God has intended this for you, you can do it. You just got to look at different things. And what I learned when I failed was you need to ask for what? Help. Brother, don't do that.
Yeah.
How often do you hear a brother say, I need help? How often do you feel that a brother feels comfortable asking for help?
Well, I could just speak from my own personal experience. I just started asking for help and connecting with Morehouse faculty and really anyone for real until my senior year. That's partly because of COVID. But freshman and sophomore year, I didn't talk to nobody. I wasn't active on campus because I didn't really know myself through, and I was clouded in my own darkness and trauma, and I wasn't really healing. But then once I connected to God and I started healing from my wounds, I was able to see my own light, and I was able to connect with faculty and brothers and
now you got some beautiful relationships, man. That's a great thing.
100%.
But we don't ask for help. I mean, we think we got, especially when we're intelligent, or believe we are. You know, we think we can do it all on our own. But nobody in life gets to where they are without help. And the earlier we can understand how to utilize help, the better we can be to help others.
As a community.
As a community.
And every conversation we have is a transition to the next one. We about to get into community next. But before we go into community, I wanted to go off of what you said when you were like, I wasn't able to see my gifts, but God had a plan for me. I wasn't able to see and receive the blessings. I have a story that kind of has that message within it. It's called the forest versus the mountain journey.
Okay.
So in the forest, it's very comfortable. It's like tropical weather. There's fruits. There's a lot more people in the forest. It's more populated. You have a lot of friends, a lot of company. It feels good. It feels comfortable, right? But you know, the sun, a lot of the sunlight doesn't really hit on you, and a lot of the nutrients from the sun doesn't hit on you while you're in that space, because the trees are so thick and heavy and surrounding you that give you the comfort of the fruit. But you're not getting that sunlight. You're not really seeing and getting the nutrients you need, right? You're surrounded by all these people. But when you walk up to the mountain journey and go through the cold, the hard terrain, the difficult terrain, and you're up there by yourself, the high altitude is hurting your, affecting your breathing. You're lonely. It's less people on that road. The road is more narrow. You might take one false move and fall off. But once you get up there, you can now look down at the forest and see the light and see everything that was meant for you, because you're now at a higher position. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I equate to, going through certain struggles and realizing you have your own road. You have your own journey. It may feel lonely. It may get cold some nights. Yeah. You may feel like you have a smaller, room for error. But at the end of the day, once you get to that top of that mountain, you're able to see the blessings and receive the blessings that were meant for you, that God has waiting for you. So, yeah.
There's truth in that. So I would go on to say a little bit more about that story, right? So you get to the mountain, the story doesn't end there, right? You got to go back down to the forest, pull somebody else up so they can see that view, right? So, and so on and so on and so on. But we don't stay there. We got to continue to move and pull people up, because the only way we're going to move ourselves as a community is if we share in that 100%. Development of our people, man. 100%. So I think all of our tools are here. We just need to know how to utilize them and utilize them effectively.
100%.
So I'm with you. So good analogy.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good addition to that story. One of the things I always say is healing one is healing all. So once you're able to heal yourself, you can heal everyone that comes around you. And to our next topic, we talked about generational healing. We talked about helping ourselves and helping other people. So how can we cultivate more healing spaces within our community and, share conversations and interactions like this, and just, cultivate more spaces like these?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. And how did you do this? How did you make this happen?
Like I said before, healing one is healing also. Once I went through my traumatic experiences and I hit my trauma threshold, and I was able to find the light and find God and connect with God, I was able to see my gifts. And once I found my purpose and I made my promise to God, I just fulfilled it. So This is a part of my journey.
And that's a great answer. But how'd you make this happen? How'd you get? We're in a beautiful barbershop.
Right, we gotta shout out the barber too at the end of the episode.
That's right. But I'm just saying, you made this happen. Yeah, so I'm sitting in this chair because of you.
I got you.
How'd you make this happen?
So I'm gonna break it down from the spiritual way, and then I'm gonna go to the physical. The first way is once I was able to find my light off rip, I connected to more light environments. And now let's get into the physical. So I always love to pick people's brain and get deep within the people's mind. Ever since I was a kid and I could talk. I've always been talking to older people since I was 6, 7 at dinner tables with people well over my age, over 30 and 40, and I always just wanted to go deeper than what was told and given to me. So one day, I'm like, I want to interview people. I want to start a YouTube channel because a couple of my brothers went viral on YouTube. On some cool play stuff, but they went viral. They hit numbers, and I was like, I want to start a YouTube channel. So at first I did a play video, caught some numbers, but I was like, nah, I want something deeper. So I was like, I want to start an interview series where I go deeper beyond, your money, your status in society, and, the external power you have in this world.
Talking about real stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I made a business called MaskOFF, and the mask is like the external power you have. Right. When you have no connection to your soul, it's just a mask you have over yourself. Mm-hmm. So I made a business called MaskOFF, so we could take that off, develop the essence, the soul, and then we could put the mask back on once we're done. You know what I'm saying? And my cousin, who's a Spelman alum, put me on to a Model UN program because the directors of the program knew my cousin. I was able to speak to them directly and tell them what I wanted to do with my business and my interviewing skills and how I wanted to hone them by interviewing the Model UN kids. And they say, yo, you got you got everything you want, do it. I'm like, where? I could just do my project. I could interview these kids. It was like, interview them. We love what you're doing. Do it. So all the foreign kids from Colombia, Brazil, to the Gambia and Africa, I interviewed all those kids from foreign countries, and I took their mask off because I'm like, these kids are about to be put in a position to be future leaders. Right. I want to see how the future leaders of worlds were as young people, where they came from, what their minds were, and what they were set to. This is a very important thing to do. So I started interviewing the kids with a simple question. It was, if you had the power to change the world today, how would you do it, and what would you do to start that process? That was the main question.
Well, that's a deep question.
And all the kids, they foreign, so they're not, intoxicated with Western civilization as much as we are.
Oh, different perspective, whole other world.
They was talking about some, we need human values. We're so focused on cars and phones. We need to have human values and love and education and teach the kids love from the beginning. I'm like, this is powerful. I really hope y'all get put into that position. And if y'all don't, God still has a purpose for you to do that.
True.
So once I got that answer, I had more faith. And you know what I'm saying? I was like, my interview skills, I showed it to people. I showed it to Ernest when I first got a haircut by him. He was like, you got some interviewing skills. You should do something with this.
Wow.
So
why'd you share it with Ernest?
Because one of my brothers from Morehouse, he has a cool relationship with Ernest. He took me to the barbershop here to get a haircut. Right. It was originally in the studio. He was kind of here in the studio, doing that. So I got my first cut by Ernest. We started talking about art. He told me he was an artist. I said, man, I got this project. I just want to help. I just want to help people get deep within themselves and see the beauty that they have within themselves. I want to help people see a beautiful part of themselves they don't often look at. I'm saying, by me shining my light. And he was like, I love that vision, man. I'm trying to open up my own shop, man. We could make some movies. We could do some cool projects in there. You could shoot your thing in there, man. We started talking about doing poetry slams, deep work. We was like, we could do some real work in here. He opened a shop. I come to the shop. You know what I'm saying? He put his own soul in here. You can see it around.
It's
beautiful shop. And we started filming in September. We started working in September, and here we are.
It's a beautiful thing, and the reason I asked you that question because you have the answer, right? This is the answer.
Yeah.
Just as you've done for yourself, we've got to communicate how others can do that for themselves, right?
And it starts
about right.
Sorry to cut you off, but it starts with I'm not gonna force anybody to believe in God or a higher power that you want to call it, but that's what it really starts. That's what started with me. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's the only way I was able to see my light and find my gift when I connected with God. That's it.
Right, and people, I think a lot of people may get turned off when they hear God.
And they could.
They immediately think church.
Yeah.
They immediately think temples and mosque, and that's not what we're saying. We're saying that there's a force greater than you. You respecting that force and giving that force the love that it deserves, and appreciation, and being open to it. I think spirituality is essential to our souls.
100%.
Because I mean, scientifically we can prove how we got here and all of those things. But
I don't even think so.
I think we can. But I mean, I think there are scientists that can. But at the end of the day, how you avoided that accident, how that bullet didn't hit you, how you didn't go that day and something bad happened. All of those things, I think, are spiritual forces greater than us. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I take my spirituality seriously, because I know if I look back on my life, and I'm sure every man that's in this barbershop can say this, there are at least 3-4 times I should have been dead. But for whatever reason, I'm still here, right? And I know that there was a force, you know, it might have been grandma praying for me, or mom praying, or whatever the case may be. That force has surrounded itself by me and protected me. So, you know, when I tell you the part of me being shot, brother was 5 feet away from me with a 45. And one hand,
did it go through
he wasn't locked in, but if he was locked in, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But one hand on the gun.
Did the bullet go through the leg?
The bullet went through my ankle.
Okay.
Tibia and fibula, but it ricocheted first. So if it would have hit me straight on, I wouldn't have a foot. You feel me? But I believe that was not my way to leave this planet. You know, it was my way to wake me up.
The trauma threshold,
right?
Yeah.
And through trauma, I think there are opportunities
to find the light.
But I don't want it to be trauma, bro.
Oh, it doesn't have to be.
That's a hard way to figure out your path. I don't want anybody to have to go through that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to happen like that.
But for me, that was what was needed, right? So that was my wake-up call. Because before that, I was a selfish Negro. You know, I had no ambition of changing anything. I wanted self. Wealth for me. I wasn't thinking about no community. I was the hell with New Jersey. I want to get this and I want to have mine. But God said you greater than that.
And two things to go off that, you know what I'm saying, to kind of close it off or open the whole space into the barbershop. Y'all want to keep talking, we keep talking. Is one, when you connect to God and you have, it's not always like just, you know what I'm saying, and the dogs in the background agree with me too, that's why they're barking. But like, you know what I'm saying, when you connect to God, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to church, you know what I'm saying, it's Bible study. It's like, it's an individual connection, connecting your soul to the essence of energy that created this. It's connecting your soul back to the essence of energy. And once you do that, it immediately quiets your ego. Your ego is not present. And that is like a major cause of a lot of, you know, reasons why we act out of fear, because of our ego. Our ego is that, you know, fake sense of protection to keep our external survival here. Yo, that man look like he about to shoot you. You should shoot him first. That's some things that the ego will lead you to think. Oh, yo, he got a hoodie on, he got his hands in his pocket. Yo, cross the street. That's something that your ego is telling you to keep your external physical existence here, because that's all it worries or cares about, right? But once you connect to God, you can release yourself from the fears of the ego and think through love. Hey, yo, this brother coming down the street, what if he was having a bad day? You like, yo, how you doing today? That's the first person that ever asked him, how are you doing? So now he felt a little bit of your light. He's able to even speak to you. Y'all have a conversation. Y'all can help each other out. That's what can happen through love. Fear, it can lead to you being fearful, you trying to frantically cross the street, and you attracting that fearful energy because you crossing the street, something happens. You know what I'm saying? And what I want to close this off as saying, when you choose love over fear, you choose growth. Every time you choose love, you choose growth. So in a situation where somebody's trying to harm you or disrespect you, if you give love to yourself and tell yourself and understand how valuable you are, you're able to walk out that situation unscathed or not attracted any trauma from that situation. So at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, man. Finding your gifts, connecting to God so you can have the vision to be aware of the tools that God gave to you and put in your toolbox, and using those tools to create a beautiful experience on earth. You know what I'm saying? So this the end of the episode, episode 5. Now you're about to open it up to the barbershop, and first off I want to say shout out to Ernest. Ernie's in the Cut Barbershop is the place that we're at right now. By this time y'all should already know.
Dope spot.
Yeah.
Dope spot. Real nice.
Y'all should already know. This is episode 5. Y'all should already be getting haircuts by now. You know what I'm saying? Putting up over here. And
true.
The conversation I want to open up to the barbershop now is, you know what I'm saying, in times where you were a little bit fearful to face, what you've been through in life, like, what does it feel like once you finally get over that hump and you finally face it and you see life in a new light? How does that feel when you make that transition from, man, I'm not trying to think about what I did, from we did this, we could do better? How does that feel when you make that transition, that leap of faith?
It's powerful. It's empowering. That's the pretty much the one word that I would sum that up as feeling, is just the feeling of empowerment, because that's what's right on the other side of facing whatever you fear head on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, was it easy getting this shop, Ernie?
Oh man, actually, yes and no. So, it was easy because I basically had a vision, and once I saw this vision in my head, it was it became active in the universe around me. So it started manifesting itself just through my visualizing and working towards it.
Yeah.
So it was not like a business plan that I wrote out and I went to a bank and they gave me money to do this. Like, no, I literally just manifested this through my work, So the artwork that you see in here, and thank you, brother, again for coming.
Oh, no problem, man. I believe in my students.
Right, I feel that, man. It's love. But yeah, the artwork on this wall, these are all my original paintings.
Nice.
You'll notice in my style, there's like a little deeper essence of, it's not just like your typical service level commercial art. Like, it's, you can feel a feel,
Yeah, no doubt.
Just like organic energy in it.
Yes, sir.
So in my painting process, a lot of times, I'll start off without an idea of what I'm going to paint before I begin painting. And the shop, as an example of that same style of working through an image to get to the ultimate end, finished result. That's the same way that I worked in my barbering profession to manifest the shop. So I worked at several shops, from like your corner spot hood shops to some very well renowned shops that were connected to celebrity figures like Dikembe Mutombo, a part of a salon business here called Saya. I worked there for years. I worked with Killer Mike's swag shop, ran for years, and many others, man. So yeah, this shop really just came out of that work. And,
Gotcha.
And when I initially started barbering, I started with one man operation in my mom's basement. So I was groomed for doing it on my own.
Understood.
You know what I'm saying? And just kind of create my.
Yeah, this is beautiful, man. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man. And something that you guys touched on earlier, about just how to get to create these spaces. Oftentimes it's about who you know, not necessarily what you can do, but it's about who you know. But the networking skill and ability is something beyond just who you know. So like my man right here, Onaje, for instance, great person to know in Atlanta, right? And he can get me into some different rooms. He can make some different introductions for me, right? That can really advance my life. But if I don't have the ability to work in that room, like me getting in the room doesn't mean I'm sitting at the table and a part of the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I have to have the ability to work in that room that he's introduced me to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt.
Get the fruits out of it. So,
no doubt.
So yeah, man, I definitely commend Patrick, man, for doing that, for having that skill. You know what I'm saying? Because once he was introduced to me, then he and I began to cultivate our own.
And it's amazing though, but a lot of times you don't find older brothers that open themselves and make it amenable for them to grow.
True.
Right? So I commend you for pouring into him and giving him a space, a safe space, if you will,
absolutely,
to do his thing. I mean,
it's my duty.
One of the things we do at Morehouse is that, we provide those spaces for brothers to figure out what it is, right? Mm-hmm. But when he offered this opportunity to me, I said, I'm not just coming for him, but I'm coming for you. To say, hey, bro, thank you, man. Thank you for giving him a space to figure out who he wants to be as a man, and to give him a space, a safe space without any. Because there's people out here that want other shit.
Exactly. Bringing all the extras.
Right. But to be a genuine soul and say, young brother, I see something in you. Let me, Because if we don't have that, we can't have this. You know what I'm saying? And what he's going to do, we don't have no idea. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
He might be, one day we might be sitting watching him and say, God damn, we poured into this boy.
Yeah,
or be behind the show.
Hopefully, I'm on that stage at TED Talk one day.
Hey,
give him my speech on healing from trauma.
You said it, claim it.
Yeah,
claim it. When I failed the teacher's exam the second time, I failed the first time by 2 points. Mm-hmm. Second time by 1. I took it the third time. Damn. I went to a program that offered help. Mm-hmm. Only had to go twice. Mm-hmm. But I scored 25 points more than what I needed to.
Wow.
Right?
You need to unlock that potential.
But I'm just saying, sometimes it's just asking or going. Yeah. Doing the extra thing. But when stuff doesn't happen, people quit. Give up. Yeah. If it's what you're supposed to do, you got to see it through.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You can't go no more. You know what I'm saying? You got to go hard.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and so many people do have an issue figuring out and finding out what that thing is for them, like what they're supposed to be doing. And you're right, to be in spaces like this, in the right company, in the right dialogue, it can help, kind of sell that for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, I've been creating these environments since I was a teenager in high school. When I first started cutting hair, and people realized I was good at it, it was like, my basement was flooded with my friends, and you know what I'm saying, just folks from the neighborhood just getting haircuts. I mean, to the point to where the shop that that was nearest to my house, they recruited me to come work there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, we heard about you, we want to offer you a chair.
Yeah, like I said this last night when I was at the shop. Some people, they already got their hair cut. They sit here just talking. You know what I'm saying? They already got their cut. You know what I'm saying? It's not about the cut. It's more than that. Yeah. You leave this. Every time I come to this space, I leave learning something new and making a connection. You know what I'm saying? And expanding my network. And even this brother right here, who working in right now, he make music. And I was talking to him about helping me add music to my podcast. Right. By just me and him in the barbershop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good to see you again, man.
How you doing?
Pretty good, man.
Good. Yeah. You made it in time for an episode.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
Right on time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, man. So it's been a wonderful experience for me. I see that Evan Williams here. I got about 3 or 4 more hours.
Right. Let's go.
I'm Might have something tonight.
Yeah,
for
man,
sure,
we gotta
man.
celebrate.
Yeah,
We gotta
man. But
celebrate.
this will not be my first trip. I do have a barber that I'm dedicated to.
Okay.
But nevertheless, man, I'm about good brothers, man.
You can bring him with you. I'm gonna do an event called Meet and Groom here, man. So barbers are welcome.
Yeah, man. But this is a beautiful spot, man. You made a special space, man.
Thank you,
But
brother.
man, we need this, man. Brothers need to see this. Brothers need to feel this.
Word.
You know?
Yeah.
Because out there, man, we be so caught up in every day.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Hey, y'all like that fit?
Oh yeah, appreciate it, man. I was at the parade.
You did? You went?
Yeah,
It was crazy out there?
It was a lot of fun.
That's good,
Just to
man.
see everybody around Peachtree, man. Like, it had to be on Peachtree. I don't
It
care.
had
I
to,
don't care
even
if
though
they
they
had
didn't
to.
move. Yeah.
It had to.
You right.
Yeah, yo, getting home. It's about to be 3 hours to get to one exit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know.
After watching this video, make sure you share this to someone you feel needs the message. At the end of the day, subscribe, tune in, like the video, comment. I would love to hear what you guys think about the messages and the interviews and just any ideas to make this show pop. I love y'all. One love, peace, love, and blessings. And everyone have an amazing day.